Do you want to buy a house without any money? Well then, let's go. Let me tell you how to do it. There are 5 important areas that you should follow when the economy weakens. I call this 5G. It is referred to as Kiyosaki's 5G principle in the literature. Let's briefly touch on each of these areas: ground, guns, grub, gasoline, and gold. These areas constitute the basic sectors where people make their purchases. During periods of economic stagnation, people become fearful and believe that they need to secure themselves in these fundamental areas. If you have products from these areas during periods of economic stagnation, a large number of people are ready to pay you big money for it. Friends, in this video, you will listen to how you can buy a house without any money during crisis periods along with Kiyosaki's recommendations. I kindly ask you to watch the video till the end. An investor who started buying large amounts of guns in 2008 sold his guns at 8,000% higher than their normal value a few years later when there was an economic crisis in Africa, and this is an incredible success. This person had realized how fearful people can get during moments of economic crisis. Similarly, people who suspect that gas stations may not be open during economic stagnation periods will want to stock up on gasoline. In this regard, it makes sense to make deals with gasoline companies. Grub is a basic necessity for human life. A hungry person can give everything to get food. When it comes to gold, it is the most in-demand thing during times of economic stagnation. Gold isn't affected by this stagnation, and people turn to it. Gold is accepted as a standard, and investment is made in gold instead of national money. When the economy plunges into a great chaos, there are various ways to get out of it. The most common one is to print money to cover debts. This situation lowers the value of money. The decline in the value of money, in turn, causes inflation to rise. During these high inflation periods, a real estate bought by an investor with low interest credit before the crisis is the best friend. Why? The answer is quite simple. The real estate has reached its highest value it can be sold. Moreover, in a chaotic environment, unavoidable expenses for people such as protection costs have increased and rental incomes have risen. The investor's loan payment is fixed. Just imagine how the profit will increase in such a situation. Also, it provides the opportunity to close the debt of the real estate purchased earlier and make a profit on top of it. Of course, people don't buy real estate to open a restaurant during such times, but they will make a payment no matter what for a rental house, which is a basic necessity. Friends, now I will share with you how Robert Kiyosaki reached a fortune of 7,500 houses by turning crisis periods into an opportunity, in his own words. Let's listen to his valuable words together. Friends, I'm taking a very short break here. We reached 1,000 followers last week and created a very beautiful family. If you join our family and like our video, you will make us very happy. We put in hours of effort for these videos, so your support is very important to us. Now, let's carefully listen to what Kiyosaki says. Do you know, when I bought my first investment as a house, I had no money. I bought it all with debt. Now, I'll talk about my own method that you can easily apply. But before going into the details of this topic, I want to share an opinion of my rich dad with you. Mr. Kiyosaki mentions in his books that he has 2 fathers. He describes the person who took him to the top on this financial journey as his rich father. He speaks about him as follows. Rich Dad says, there are only 6 words you need to base on when talking about financial education: financial intelligence, income and expenses, assets and liabilities, and finally cash flow. Since Rich Dad was someone who valued financial education, he sent me to a course. The subject of the course was how do you buy a house when you have no money? I can say that this 3-day training formed the basis of my current financial intelligence. During the course, I looked at more than 100 houses to put the training I received into practice. I determined their advantages and disadvantages by visiting them one by one. However, what our course instructors were always trying to instill in us was how the house would be bought without using any money. Therefore, I understood that the only way to do this was to borrow money. Now I will ask you a question. If you tell the people around you that there is a very attractive bargain house and try to encourage them to buy it, how would they respond to you? Of course, they would respond with sentences like, "I don't have money to invest, I could never buy that house, my children are too young, I already have a lot to pay for." Sometimes you have to create opportunities for investment even when you don't have any money. Rich Dad called those who were in this victim psychology losers. These are the thoughts that keep you poor, he would say. By the way, until I attended the training, I think I agreed with the rest of humanity. However, my thoughts changed after that training. After I finished the course, I was now on the lookout for opportunities and started researching to apply in my own life. Right at this moment, in 1971, President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, and chaos began to reign in the market. By 1973, the biggest crisis of the period was experienced. It was called the oil crisis. This situation indirectly affected many markets and the marketplace. House prices were falling rapidly. Almost every sector of the economy was affected by it. It was just time to apply what I learned from the course. I bought my first investment home during this period for $18,000. It was a small apartment. You can think of it like today's studio apartments. For this house, which I learned in my financial education and could apply, I had to use no cash. So, I first went to the bank to use a loan, but they did not give me a mortgage. Nowadays, I get calls from the bank saying, "Mr. Kiyosaki, your $300 million loan is ready to use at the lowest interest rate." However, this is a different topic. Anyway, I took out a credit card with a limit of $4,000 and paid $2,000 in down payment. But my purpose in doing this was different. I knew the market was in an unprecedented crisis, and I was aware that it wouldn't take long for prices to return to their previous levels after the crisis ended. Do you know what happened next? A month later, I sold my house for $43,000, achieving this with just a $2,000 down payment. I made close to $40,000 from my first investment property, and it was my first time earning money. I can say that I never needed money again. I can say that I reached financial freedom at an early age thanks to the financial education I received. If you can make money without producing money, this is called freedom. If you look at the average people in the world, they usually have a job they have to constantly go to, and they earn the money to sustain their lives from these jobs. They pay their rents or mortgages with the money they earn from here. So in the end, a large part of the money they earn goes to the banks. In this case, your home is not an asset for you. When I said this, it was a big deal. I am saying it again. If you are making regular payments to the bank every month, or you have a single house and you are paying for depreciation, taxes, and other expenses for this house is not an asset for you, but rather a liability. Assets are things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities are things that cost money to come out of your pocket. If the house does not provide you with a regular income, it is a liability at that point. But if you had a house for rent and you were making a regular income every month, then your house would be an asset for you. When I was still young, my to-be-dream house that I bought 100% with debt put $40,000 in my pocket, and this was just a beginning for me. Now, my wife Kim Kiyosaki and I have over 7,500 houses. We collect rent from 7,500 properties every month. This is a wonderful feeling. Also, all these people have a house to live in and they live there, making regular payments. But remember, all these houses actually came from debt. But it was good debt. There are two important criteria that make a debt good: cash flow and your net income. In its simplest form, if your income is greater than your expenses and you can easily make payments, it is good debt. So it is important to know where you are financially. If you go to the bank to borrow, the banker will first look at your income and then your expenses. If I try to explain with simple numbers, you have an income of $1,000 and fixed expenses of $500. In this case, your net income ready for spending is $500. This is exactly your point of borrowing. The banker will say, you have a net income of $500, so you can use a loan with a repayment of $250 or at most $350. Most people get stuck here because their financial statements are not sufficient for using credit. Sometimes, if banks do not see your net income as sufficient, they may ask, how can I lend you money? This is where financial intelligence comes into play. If you explain the project you pulled out of your pocket and say, I plan to do this with this money, the situation may change. A banker friend of mine told me that the net income of the person who wanted a loan was negative and he was not in a suitable situation to lend, but this person wanted to use a loan for a good type of debt and eventually got the loan. For instance, let's say you bought a building for $1 million in a nice block, but there are no tenants inside. If there were tenants inside, the building could have been worth $3, maybe $4 or $5 million. Because then you would consider the rental income inside and sell accordingly. In summary, even if your net income is negative, if you create a plan that creates value and shows that you can increase its value in the future, the bank will give you a loan. Although not always, most of the time this is the case. Yes, friends, you have also realized that this video is very important. Watching it until the end is the biggest proof of this. 95% of our viewers on YouTube do not watch the videos until the end. I want to tell you that you are really on the right path. If you start acting differently from others, you can stand out and achieve success. Therefore, I will suggest you to follow us. This family needs you very much. See you in the next video on the Financial Utopia channel.